Hey, everybody, off the Mike Sports Network here. It's the summer. I actually have got a decent amount of sports content. We obviously have had a bunch of wrestling content. It's been busy. Sports really, the only major sports that have been going on have been baseball and the WNBA. And there has been some Gold Cup and some of the international soccer tournaments that have been going on. But WNBA has been generating a lot of interest. And this topic is WNBA related because earlier this week it was announced that Cleveland, Detroit, and Philadelphia over 3 years starting in 2028 are going to get cities um, and get teams in the WNBA. People who don't know, the Cleveland Rockers existed in the WNBA early in the stages of that. They since have had folded and haven't been in the league. And now with the success of the Golden State Valkyries, the league's going to get a team in Toronto. It's very, very exciting for women's basketball, even though most of it seems like most of the people I see on the internet only watch women's basketball because of Caitlin Clark. If you're doing that, you're missing out because women's basketball is in a really good place right now. And this is a very, very exciting announcement. Speaking of Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, who has generated a lot of buzz, people who follow the league or also sickos or whatever, who watch the Phoenix Mercury, know who Sophie Cunningham is. Very attractive woman, has been made a name for herself in the WNBA, obviously with Phoenix. Now she gets traded to Indiana and really kind of got a lot more popularity, even that stemmed on from her stint with the Phoenix Mercury, with her protecting Caitlin Clark at the end of a game earlier a couple weeks ago. And that generated a lot of buzz for Sophie Cunningham. Now, on Tuesday, some very interesting comments in light of this news that happened early in the week. Sophie Cunningham basically, I'll read this to you. So basically, referencing the whole league's efforts to expand, says you want to listen to the players too. She says, like, where do they want to play? Where are they going to get excited and play and draw fans? I think Miami would have been a great one. Everybody loves Florida. Nashville is an amazing city. Kansas City, amazing opportunity. There's a huge arena downtown that no one's using. I'm not so sure what the thought process is there. At the end of the day, you don't want to expand our league too fast. We don't want teams to totally dominate and some that aren't. It's a hard situation, but man, I don't know how excited people are to be going to Detroit, or she said Cincinnati, but she was clearly meaning Cleveland. And everybody knows, like, because I do Browns thoughts, I do Cavs thoughts, I do Guardians, the Guards thoughts. I'm a big Cleveland sports fan. And this brings me back to the days of Joakim Noah. You guys remember Joakim Noah played for the Chicago Bulls, like was hammering away at the city of Cleveland for, like not being a great, attractive city. Okay. We need to dispel the notion that Cleveland is some dog shit city or some dog shit sports town that people shouldn't want to go play at. I understand it's a small market, but if you've ever been to Cleveland, like for God's sake, and I'm not, for God's sake, they just hosted SummerSlam a year ago. It is a great place to be in the summertime. There's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's a great downtown area. Browns, you can walk from Brown Stadium. You can walk any part of the downtown area and really get anywhere. You got, especially for sports, you've got, Rocket Arena now. It was Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, the Q, Gun Arena, whatever you want to call it. Then you got Progressive Field, you got Cleveland Brown Stadium or Huntington Bank Field or whatever the fuck it's called now. It's a great downtown area. And like I said, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If you've never been there, go to the fucking Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So Sophie Cunningham earned so many points for a lot of people because she protected Caitlin Clark. Some of the dudes out there was like, oh, she's hot and whatever. In my eyes, she lost a little bit of points and a lot of credibility here because, listen, we need to, and this is not necessarily a Sophie Cunningham thing. It's that I feel that sometimes, and obviously this is a personal thing to me, that people just look at Cleveland and they look at Ohio on the map and they're like, man, I don't want to go there. Leaving out the fact, and let's bring this back to Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham grew up in Missouri. She is playing in Indianapolis, Indiana, which is not far from Cleveland. You mean to tell me what the hell's the difference between Missouri, Indiana, and Ohio? There's no difference, okay? I don't get this narrative that keeps getting spun in these leagues where people do not want to go to these places. And Donovan Mitchell spoke up against this. By the way, you want to know who thinks that Cleveland is a good city? Caitlin Clark. She said it when they hosted the Final Four a couple years ago. So maybe talk to your teammates, Sophie. I have respect for what you do for your own personal brand. You protected your teammate. You're a very solid role player in the WNBA, but please, for the love of God, and this is not just her, this is a sentiment across, like, multiple circles. Can we stop just trying to disrespect small markets? And Cleveland is the latest example. I'll even take this to Detroit. I have a dear friend of mine, Lane Weiss, dear friend. She went back home. She loves Detroit. Detroit's a great sports city. I don't know what's wrong with the Detroit. The Shock, one of the great franchises in WNBA history. I think they won a championship, if I'm not mistaken. Like, this narrative that, like, you have to go to these big time cities because you need lifestyle and, all the other material things and, like, just, the glitz and the glamour. It's like, it's not all about that. Okay. Like, there's money to be spread around no matter where you go. Okay. I understand that, going to Texas or going to, Miami, no state income tax and all that other stuff. But really, this whole idea that Cleveland is just some dog shit city is really just a bogus narrative. And she couldn't even mention it correctly. She was saying Cincinnati. Like, I'm not trying to pile on Sophie Cunningham because I do have a lot of respect for what she's done in her short career in the WNBA. I think she got drafted in like 2019, so she's like 5-6 years into the league. And she stood up for Caitlin Clark. Good for her. Caitlin Clark hasn't had a lot of protection for herself early in her WNBA career. But her speaking out about this really bothered me because it's just like, Joakim Noah had a very misguided approach. I mean, you've got people like Donovan Mitchell had zero. Donovan Mitchell is from New York. Think about this. Donovan Mitchell is from New York City, or from the New York area, New Jersey, like that whole Metroplex area. He wanted to be a Knick. He got traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers and had the option to leave. He stayed. This is, if that was so bad and the whole narrative is Cleveland sucks, the song Drew Carey Show, Cleveland rocks. Cleveland does rock. If you actually gave it an opportunity and actually experienced it like I have, I have a bunch of family there. I have a bunch of family who has been there for a majority of their life. To be honest with you, there's a good chance that I could have been living in Cleveland if some certain family decisions were made in my early upbringing that maybe I would not be living in California right now. And then in a lot of ways, I wouldn't mind living in Cleveland right now. There's some things politically that maybe I wouldn't align with, but that's neither here nor there. But the point is, Cleveland is a good city. Ohio is a good state. Okay. And the narrative that somehow, like, hey, the WNBA going to Cleveland, despite having a history there with an icon, like the Rockers, that's really cool that they're coming back. I've been waiting for that. Like, bring all the OG WNBA franchises back. Bring back the Monarchs. Bring back the Comets in Houston, Sacramento, the Sacramento Monarchs, the Houston Comets. Bring back all of them. Women's basketball is growing, but when you're going to just like immediately days after they announce expansion, and then you're like, oh yeah, nobody wants to go to Cleveland. We should be going to this place and this place. Well, clearly the WNBA saw something in Cleveland. The women's basketball Final Four was literally there a couple years ago. And the biggest staple of the WNBA right now, which is Caitlin Clark, said it a couple years ago. So it's not just a Sophie Cunningham thing, but I need this to illustrate a point because she is one of the latest examples of people that just really fundamentally do not understand how great of a city Cleveland is. So, yes, it's not a big city, it's not a big town, but it's not the worst thing in the world. In fact, it's a lot better than people realize. So I suggest you go visit there. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.